The downside is that when you do this as professionals over a long period of time, that you can experience compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is very common among professionals, especially people who work in adult protective services, people who are providing direct care, people who see these really, really difficult situations and are always trying to find solutions. And it's a result of indirect trauma, of always rescuing people and fixing other people's problems. It could also be called the superhero syndrome because you are always trying to give more, work harder, work faster. You're thinking all of the time, and just putting so much effort into the work that you get worn out. So you say, so what's wrong with being compulsive and being committed and dedicated to helping other people? What's the problem? Well, the problem is you can get overwhelmed with it. And if you don't know how to set some limits, if you don't know how to take care of yourself, then you can get sucked into this downward pulling spiral. And what happens if you don't take care of yourself is that you can see so much and you can hurt so much for other people that eventually you lose your own ability to feel empathy and compassion. Have you ever known anyone who may have experienced this? Have you felt it yourself? Yeah, it's a kind of scary thing when you get there, isn't it? So, symptoms of compassion fatigue. People have a tendency to start having frequent arguments with family and coworkers. You can experience physical and emotional disorientation. I read about one nurse who said that sometimes she felt like she was outside of her own body, that she wasn't actually connected physically to herself when she got to a point of extreme compassion fatigue. Other symptoms is that you have a tendency to isolate yourself from other people. And blaming is a big one, that you're blaming everybody else. It's his fault. If she would just do that, if they would just take care of this, and that becomes a frequent symptom. People who have compassion fatigue often become careless with their own appearance, and they can indulge in compulsive behaviors such as shopping, gambling, overeating, and serial relationships, romantic involvements. And then, of course, there's always the good standbys of alcohol, prescription drugs, and cigarettes. Along with apathy, difficulty concentrating, and then this next one is a little graphic. Apologize for that, but it's the truth. When you get so exhausted, then you become more vulnerable to colds, digestive disorders, flus, that type of thing. So I think we can all agree that there's nothing that is good about pushing yourself to the point that you start to experience compassion fatigue as a professional caregiver. So what can you do? How do you maintain your emotional balance, your equilibrium, while you're in the midst of all of this? And I would say the first thing is to make sure you don't lose yourself. Don't let your work steal your identity as an individual. If you can take a break, if you can take a vacation, if you can separate yourself, if you can turn off the computer and the cell phone and the email and just take a break and not think about it for a while, it can clear your mind and restore your body. One nurse wrote that one thing that she had discovered that really worked for her is that when she walked out of her office at night and she closed the door, that she would hold her hand up for just a few seconds and she would think, okay, this is my work life. I'm leaving that behind now and I'm stepping out into my other life. And it was that physical trigger of making the separation. In an article in Psychology Today, Suzanne Babel suggested that if you're in a situation that perhaps you have a physical trigger, perhaps it could be a wedding ring, that you twist the ring and think, okay, I have a spouse, I have children, I have friends, I have family outside of this work. And so that helps you stay connected internally to yourself. Having a picture, a family that you can touch. The interesting thing to me was to touch something, have a physical connection with something that takes you outside of the work. And, a picture of you doing something that you do well or that you enjoy. And then have one connected, meaningful conversation every day about what's going on inside of you, not just what's happening with work or the next task that needs to be done. A connected, meaningful conversation with someone who cares about you, who cares about how you feel. And then understand that your time and your energy is your treasure. So spend it carefully, spend it wisely, protect it. And of course, we all know what we're supposed to do, and sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things to do. You need to make good choices about what you put into your body, the food you eat, and drinking water instead of a lot of energy drinks and coffee and soft drinks. And then, of course, get enough rest. And always seeking professional counseling. There's no shame in that, to ask for help in that area. So those are some pretty tough things to deal with and to understand. But as you work with individual family caregivers, you can help them by guiding them to take care of themselves. But you really also have to learn to take care of yourselves. You need to make that a priority.